My name is Jim Walsh. I'm a professor from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan in the United States. And I'm here at Strathmore as a part of the Africa Academy of Management Conference. We talked about the complexity of globalization and the like. There's the complexity of business education as well. And so you can look at it from a couple of different perspectives. And one is, given the nature of economic development and commerce and trade and the state of the educational institutions in the North, for lack of a better phrase, I'll put that in air quotes, have developed codified bodies of knowledge about the economy and trade and production and all of that. And we're quite happy to share that with anyone that wants to know about it. And I think there are people here on this continent that are happy to learn what we have learned from past experiences. Both scholars from the North and the West and the scholars I've met in Africa, and the good news is I've been wandering around universities now and the scholarly community in Africa now for about 5 years, so I know a little bit. I know what I don't know, but I know a little bit from having spent time here now. There's also a clear appetite to learn from each other, because the nature of business here is different than it is in North America, say. So there's both we in North America, by virtue of our past experience and the state of higher education and all of that, have learned something and we can share it, but everybody I know is very interested to learn what people in the universities here and the people of practice know, and then how that informs our thinking. And so it's a two-way street there, but that's all in service of the how question. How can we develop business and open markets and manage supply chains and all of that? The other part, the other part of what scholars can do is they can ask the why question. There are many scholars, what you do for a living is you're clear about your thinking, you're clear about your assumptions, and you're clear about your mechanisms that are in play and the boundary conditions and the unintended consequences of whatever you're looking at. And it could be just your assumption. If you have a customer relationship marketing program, what are your assumptions about the customers, and then how do you put that program together, and then what are the unintended consequences of treating a customer in one way versus another way. So that thinking can come into play when you're looking at the how of doing business, but you can also just take one step back and say, well, what are our assumptions about the nature of business and social life, and what are our assumptions about North American values that came out of largely out of Western Europe over the last couple hundreds of years, and then the values here that have also been influenced by Western Europe over the last couple hundreds of years, and then how do those assumptions commingle, and then in dialogue, well, what can we learn from an African sense of life versus a North American sense of life, and what can we jointly learn from our experience as humans on this planet, where we can not just have us working for business, but to have business working for us, if you will. And scholars can do that, but that's a challenge, I think, going forward, where there is a need for wealth creation and there's a need for business and jobs and the like, is that aspect of the scholarly contribution can be diminished and say, well, you just sound like a sociologist or an anthropologist or a political scientist, and I don't care about that. I care about opening a market and selling some good or service, and I want to make my money and all. But don't talk to me about why I want to make money or what I'm going to do with the money or what are the unintended consequences of cherishing money over family or some such thing. But scholars can pay attention to the transmission of these capabilities and skills and knowledge back and forth across boundaries, and how that affects not only the people in Africa, but the people elsewhere around the world, and then increasingly, given the state of our world, humanity itself. Africa Rising is reminding us all of our common humanity, and there's opportunities to grow together and realize our potential as humans, maybe even our divine potential as humans. But there is also that other side, which is, what are we as humans doing to ourselves? And given the asymmetry of lifestyles and power and wealth, even now as we come to terms with each other as equals, how are we as a people going to accommodate ourselves to the finite constraints of life on this planet? and what is that going to mean to the haves, if you will, and what is that going to mean to the have-nots as we collectively engage this world.